AITA for refusing to babysit after finding out why I was really invited over? I was loading the dishwasher in my sister's kitchen when I heard my name through the baby monitor. Not the one in the living room where I'd just put 3-year-old Ethan down for his nap. The one in the master bedroom upstairs. My sister Rebecca's voice came through tinny, but clear. Alex is perfect because he's too stupid to realize what we're doing. My hands stopped moving. A plate dripped soapy water onto my shoes. David's laugh followed. The IRS would have a field day if they knew we're claiming $800 a week in childcare expenses while your idiot brother does it for free. I stood there, dish soap running down my wrists, trying to make the words mean something different than what they obviously meant. Behind me, Ethan's breathing whispered through the other monitor, innocent and steady. I'd been watching him every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 7 months. Sometimes weekends. Sometimes overnight when they had work emergencies that always seemed to involve Instagram photos from wineries or beach resorts. Rebecca's voice continued. And if anyone ever reports us for leaving the kids alone, we just say Alex was here. He's so eager to help, he'll probably even cover for us. I set the plate down slowly, carefully, in a silence that felt like falling. The thing about betrayal is that it rewrites your past in real time. Every memory suddenly has a different narrator, a different truth. I thought back to 7 months ago when Rebecca had called me crying, saying she was overwhelmed, that motherhood was harder than she'd expected, that David was working such long hours. Could I help? Just sometimes? Just until they got on their feet? I'd moved back to Portland 3 months earlier after my startup had imploded, living in a shitty studio apartment and doing freelance web design to keep the lights on. Family helps family, right? I'd said yes immediately. Now I stood in their kitchen, their massive kitchen in their $500,000 house in the West Hills, and understood that every moment of the past 7 months had been a lie. Every, "thank you so much, you're a lifesaver," had been them laughing at me behind closed doors. Every time Rebecca had hugged me and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you," had been her thinking about the tax fraud I was enabling without knowing it. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app. My hands were shaking, but I managed to hold it near the baby monitor. I needed proof. I needed this to be real, because part of me still wanted to believe I'd misheard. The best part, David was saying, is that he's so desperate to be the good uncle, the family hero, that he'll never question why we need him here so much. My golf game has never been better. I told Mom he was freeloading off us, Rebecca said, that we were giving him purpose because he had nothing else going on. She actually believed that we were doing him a favor. I recorded for 3 more minutes. They talked about their accountant, Jerry Feldman, who'd helped them set up the fake childcare expense documentation. They talked about their friend Monica, who'd told them about the scam. They laughed about the time I'd stayed up all night with Ethan when he had croup, how exhausted I'd been, how I'd actually apologized for looking tired the next morning. When I finally stopped recording, my legs felt hollow. I checked on Ethan one more time. He was still sleeping, thumb in his mouth, completely unaware that the foundation of his family was about to crack open. I wanted to pick him up and run. Instead, I took photos of everything I could find. The calendar on their fridge showing all my babysitting days. The thank you card Rebecca had given me last month that said, "To the world's best uncle," with a Starbucks gift card inside, which I now realized was probably a documentation tactic. I found their home office unlocked. David's filing cabinet had a folder labeled Childcare Tax Docs. Inside were receipts from Little Sprouts Daycare for $800 a week, dating back 9 months. 9 months. They'd been planning this before they'd even asked me. The receipts had a business address, a license number, everything official looking. I photographed every page. My phone showed 2:13 p.m. Rebecca and David were supposed to be back by 3. I had 47 minutes. Wait, no, I caught myself. Not that number. I had less than an hour. I went through David's desk more carefully. There was an email printout from their accountant, dated 6 weeks ago. As discussed, the childcare expense deduction will save you approximately $12,000 annually. The documentation from Little Sprouts looks legitimate. Make sure your brother doesn't find out about the arrangement, as volunteer family care would invalidate the business expense claim. $12,000. I'd saved them $12,000 a year by watching their kids for free, and they were committing tax fraud on top of it. No, worse than that. They were using my unpaid labor as the foundation for their fraud. I photographed everything. Then I went to their bedroom and found the baby monitor receiver. I recorded myself playing back the conversation I'd overheard, my phone recording their voices from the monitor speaker. 2 layers of evidence. Ethan started crying upstairs. I went to him automatically, muscle memory from 7 months of being Uncle Alex, the reliable one, the one who always showed up. He'd had a bad dream. I held him until he calmed down, singing the stupid song I'd made up about dinosaurs driving fire trucks. He giggled and grabbed my nose. "Uncle Alex stays?" he asked. "Not today, buddy," I said. My voice cracked. "Not anymore." I heard the garage door opening. They were home early. I met them in the kitchen, Ethan on my hip. Rebecca's smile was practiced, perfect. "Oh, good. You got him up from his nap. How was he?" "Great," I said. "Hey, I need to head out a bit early today. I have a client call at 3:30. "Of course." Rebecca took Ethan from me. "You're so good to us, Alex. Seriously. I was just telling David this morning how lucky we are to have you. This morning. They'd been planning their fraud discussion this morning, knowing I'd be here this afternoon. Yeah, I said. Lucky. I walked out to my car with my phone feeling like a bomb in my pocket. I sat in their driveway for a solid 5 minutes, trying to breathe normally. Then I called my old roommate from college, Jason Liu, who was now a tax attorney in Seattle. I need to understand something about tax fraud, I told him. 90 minutes later, I was sitting in a Starbucks with my laptop, Jason on video call, going through everything I'd found. He'd made me send him all the photos and recordings through an encrypted email. Alex, he said, his face serious on the screen. This is federal tax fraud. The IRS doesn't mess around with fabricated business expenses. We're talking potential felony charges, depending on how long this has been going on and how much they've claimed. What do I do? You report it. You have no choice. You're a witness to a crime, and if you don't report it, you could be considered complicit. He paused. But there's something else you need to know. If they've been claiming you were paid childcare provider, there could be employment tax issues too. They should have been issuing you a 1099 if they were claiming you as a business expense. They weren't paying me anything. That's the point. Exactly. Which means they're claiming payments to a fake business, Little Sprouts Daycare, while the actual care was provided by unpaid family labor. That's not just fraud. That's conspiracy to defraud the federal government. Jason rubbed his face. You need a lawyer. Not me. I do corporate tax. You need someone who handles criminal tax fraud, and you need to report this to the IRS before your sister and her husband have any idea you know. He gave me a name. Patricia Moreno, a former IRS criminal investigator who now did white-collar criminal defense and whistleblower cases. I called her office the next morning, a Thursday. Her paralegal said she could see me Friday at 2 p.m. I barely slept that night. I kept thinking about Ethan asking if Uncle Alex was staying. I kept thinking about all the times I'd canceled plans, turned down freelance work, rearranged my entire schedule because Rebecca said she needed me. The time I'd missed a job interview because she'd called sobbing about being overwhelmed. The time I'd worked on my laptop in their living room for 6 hours while watching both kids because she said she had a migraine, and I'd later seen her Instagram story from a spa day. Friday came. Patricia Moreno's office was in downtown Portland, 20th floor of a building with marble floors and the kind of elevator music that costs money. She was in her 50s, gray-streaked hair pulled back, wearing a suit that meant business. Tell me everything, she said. I did. I played her the recordings, showed her the photos, told her about the 7 months of free babysitting, the fake daycare receipts, the accountant's email. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sat back and steepled her fingers. Mr. Sawyer, she said, you've documented a clear case of tax fraud. The question is what you want to happen now. I can help you report this to the IRS, which will trigger an investigation. I can also help you report this to the Oregon Department of Revenue, because they're likely claiming this on state taxes too. But you need to understand something. This will destroy your relationship with your sister. It will probably destroy her marriage. It could result in criminal charges, substantial fines, and potentially prison time. They were using me, I said. They were lying to everyone about me. They told our mother I was freeloading off them. I know, and that's despicable. But family legal battles are uniquely painful. She paused. There's another element here that concerns me. You mentioned they said if anyone reported them for leaving the kids alone, they'd say you were there. Have they been leaving the children unsupervised? The question hit me like cold water. Oh, I don't know. I thought I was there whenever they weren't. You might want to document your actual babysitting schedule against when they claim to have had childcare coverage. Because if there are gaps, and if anything happened to those children during those gaps, you could potentially be implicated as the supposed caregiver. My stomach dropped. They wouldn't. Mr. Sawyer, they've already committed federal tax fraud and defamed you to your own mother. What makes you think they wouldn't throw you under the bus to protect themselves if something went wrong? I spent the weekend creating a detailed calendar of every single day I'd babysat. I went through my bank statements, my email, my text messages, my Google location history. I cross-referenced everything with Rebecca's requests and confirmations. Then I did something that made me feel sick. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request for any reports filed with Oregon Child Protective Services regarding their address. Patricia had told me it was a long shot, but if there had been any reports of neglect or abandonment, I needed to know. While I waited, I stopped responding to Rebecca's texts. She'd sent me 3 messages over the weekend asking if I could watch the kids Monday because David had a work thing. I left them on read. Monday morning, she called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. The 4th call, I answered. Alex, where are you? I need you to get here. David already left. I can't make it today, Becca. I have a client meeting. Silence. Then, you always have time for us. What's going on? I just can't today. Alex. Her voice shifted, got harder. We've been incredibly generous with you, letting you be part of the kids' lives, giving you something to do while you figure out your career. This is really inconsiderate. There it was, the mask slipping, just a little. I need to go, I said, and hung up. She called back immediately. I blocked her number. By Monday afternoon, my mother was calling. I answered because I knew this was coming. Alex, what on earth is going on? Rebecca is beside herself. She says you've abandoned her, that she's been helping you get back on your feet, and you've thrown it in her face. Mom, that's not what happened. Then what did happen? Because your sister is crying, saying she doesn't know what she did wrong, that she's been nothing but supportive of you. I wanted to tell her everything. Instead, I said, I can't talk about this right now, but I promise you, when this is over, you'll understand. When what is over? Alex, you're scaring me. I love you, Mom. I'll call you in a few days. I hung up before she could respond. The FOIA request came back Wednesday. 3 reports to CPS over the past year. 2 were marked unfounded after investigation. 1 was still listed as pending review. The complaints: children left unsupervised in a vehicle, children heard crying for extended periods with no adult response, and a 3-year-old found playing in the front yard alone. I sat in my apartment and stared at those reports for an hour. Ethan in the front yard alone. Ethan, who couldn't reach the doorknob by himself. Ethan, who I'd taught to sing the Dinosaur Fire Truck song. Patricia helped me file a formal complaint with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division on Thursday. We included everything: the recordings, the photos of the fake receipts, the accountant's email, my documentation of the actual child care I'd provided, the CPS reports showing gaps in supervision. The investigation will take time, Patricia warned. Could be months. In the meantime, you need to protect yourself. Document every interaction with your sister and her husband. Don't meet with them alone. Don't discuss this with anyone except me and potentially the investigators when they contact you. When will that be? Could be weeks. Could be days. The IRS moves on its own timeline. It was 3 days. Special Agent Michael Torres called me on Sunday morning. He was with IRS Criminal Investigation, 15 years with the agency, previously with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. He wanted to meet in person. Could I come to their federal building office Monday at 10 a.m.? I could. Agent Torres was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with the kind of calm intensity that suggested he'd seen everything and was tired of being surprised. His partner, Special Agent Diane Foster, was older, sharper, with eyes that seemed to calculate your net worth while shaking your hand. Mr. Sawyer, Torres said, you've brought us a very interesting case. We'd like to ask you some questions about your sister and brother-in-law. They interviewed me for 3 hours. They asked about everything: when the babysitting started, how often, whether I'd ever been paid, whether I'd ever signed anything, whether I knew about their accountant. They asked about the house, the cars, the lifestyle. They asked about the kids. When I mentioned the CPS reports, Foster's expression changed. You're aware of reports filed regarding the children? I filed a FOIA request. I was concerned that they might have been leaving the kids alone and planning to say I was there. Torres and Foster exchanged a look. Mr. Sawyer, Foster said carefully, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Has anyone from your family threatened you or attempted to intimidate you since you stopped babysitting? Not threatened. My sister's been calling, texting. My mother thinks I've lost my mind, but no direct threats. If that changes, you contact us immediately. Understood? I understood. They sent me home with instructions to continue documenting everything and to not, under any circumstances, discuss the investigation with anyone, including my family. That lasted 4 days. Thursday night, someone knocked on my apartment door at 11 p.m. I checked the peephole. David. I didn't open it. Alex, I know you're in there. Your car's in the lot. Open the damn door. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Alex, whatever you think is going on, you're wrong. Rebecca is devastated. The kids keep asking for you. Ethan cries every night. You're being selfish and cruel. I said nothing. Fine. His voice changed, got uglier. You want to play it this way? We know people, Alex. People who can make your life very difficult. That startup failure of yours? We can make sure everyone in Portland knows you're unstable, unreliable. Good luck getting clients. I kept recording. He banged on the door 3 more times, then left. I sent the recording to Patricia immediately, then to Agent Torres. Torres called me back within 20 minutes. Mr. Sawyer, that was a threat. We're going to need you to file a police report and request a restraining order. Can you do that tonight? I filed the police report at midnight. Officer Janet Kim took my statement, listened to the recording, and looked at me with something like pity. Family stuff is always the worst, she said. I'll make sure this gets flagged as related to an ongoing federal investigation. The restraining order hearing was set for the following Wednesday. I had to face David in court. He showed up with a lawyer, a guy named Richard Brennan, who had that corporate defense attorney smugness that costs $400 an hour. Brennan argued that David was simply a concerned brother-in-law trying to check on family, that I was overreacting due to mental health issues stemming from my failed business, that the recording was taken out of context. Judge Elizabeth Kowalski listened, then asked to hear the recording herself. When David's voice saying, "We know people who can make your life very difficult," played in the courtroom, her expression hardened. "Restraining order granted," she said. "Mr. Whitmore, you are to have no contact with Mr. Sawyer. Violation will result in immediate arrest." David's face went purple. Rebecca was in the gallery crying. My mother was there too, looking lost and angry and confused. Outside the courtroom, my mother caught up with me. "Alex, what is happening? Why are you doing this to your sister?" "Mom, I can't explain right now, but I promise you, they're not who you think they are. They're your family." "So am I said, and walked away. The investigation accelerated after that. Agent Torres called me in for a second interview, this time with an assistant U.S. attorney present. Benjamin Ashford, Fraud Prosecution Division, 23 years with the DOJ. He had the kind of face that had sent people to prison and slept fine afterward. "Mr. Sawyer," Ashford said, "we've been coordinating with the Oregon Department of Revenue and the Oregon Child Protective Services. The scope of this case has expanded significantly. We're looking at federal tax fraud, state tax fraud, welfare fraud. Your sister and brother-in-law have also been claiming you as a dependent on their taxes for 2 years, and potential child endangerment charges." "What?" "They claimed you as a dependent, stating you lived with them and they provided more than half your support. That's why they told your mother you were freeloading. It supported their fraudulent tax narrative." I felt dizzy. "How much have they stolen?" Ashford consulted a file. "Conservatively, between federal and state tax fraud, welfare benefits claimed fraudulently, and the dependent claim, we're estimating approximately $68,000 over a 3-year period." $68,000. They'd built their lifestyle partially on stealing from the government while using me as the mechanism and the scapegoat. "The good news," Ashford continued, "is that you're fully cooperating and clearly a victim here. The bad news is that your family is going to see this as betrayal. When we execute search warrants and make arrests, it's going to be public. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Ethan asking if Uncle Alex was staying. I thought about all the nights I'd rocked him to sleep, all the times I'd changed diapers and made bottles and sung stupid songs. I thought about Rebecca hugging me and calling me her hero while laughing about my stupidity behind closed doors. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." The search warrants were executed on a Friday morning in late November. I only knew because Agent Torres called me at 6 a.m. to give me a heads up. "We're at their house now," he said. "You'll probably start getting calls soon. Don't answer. Don't engage. Let it play out." My phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m. My mother, my aunt, 2 cousins, my grandmother. I let them all go to voicemail. Then Rebecca's number, even though I'd blocked it. She was calling from David's phone. Then came the texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Friends of Rebecca's, calling me a monster, a traitor, asking how I could do this to my own sister. I turned my phone off and went for a drive. When I turned it back on that evening, there were 83 missed calls and over 100 text messages. But there was also an email from Patricia. "Call me." "The search went well," she said when I called. "They found extensive documentation of the fraud. The accountant, Jerry Feldman, is cooperating with investigators in exchange for a plea deal. He's been doing this for multiple clients. Your sister and brother-in-law are facing some serious charges." "What happens to the kids?" "CPS has been involved throughout. Currently, they're with your mother while the investigation continues." My mother, who thought I was destroying the family. "Alex," Patricia said gently, "you did the right thing. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did." The indictment came down 3 weeks before Christmas. Rebecca and David were charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States, filing false tax returns, wire fraud, and, after the CPS investigation was completed, 2 counts of child endangerment. The local news picked up the story. "Portland couple accused of tax fraud scheme involving brother," read the headline in the Oregonian. The article detailed the fake daycare receipts, the unpaid family labor, the dependent claims. It mentioned the CPS reports. My phone wouldn't stop. I changed my number. I deleted social media. I moved to a different apartment. My mother left me one voicemail that I listened to only once. "I don't know who you are anymore. How could you do this? How could you destroy your sister's life, put those children through this? You're dead to me." I saved the voicemail. Someday, maybe, I'd be able to explain. Someday, she'd understand that I hadn't destroyed Rebecca's life. Rebecca had done that herself. The trial was set for March. Patricia advised me that I'd be called as a witness, that it would be brutal, that the defense would try to paint me as a vindictive, unstable loser who'd invented the whole thing out of jealousy. "Let them," I said. "I have the recordings." But there was no trial. In February, 3 weeks before jury selection, Rebecca and David took a plea deal. Rebecca pled guilty to filing false tax returns and child endangerment. David pled guilty to conspiracy to defraud and filing false tax returns. The prosecutor pushed for prison time. The sentencing hearing was in April. I went, sitting in the back of the courtroom. Rebecca and David sat at the defense table, both of them thinner, harder, older than they'd been 6 months ago. Assistant U.S. Attorney Ashford laid out the case methodically. The $68,000 in fraud, the fake business receipts, the manipulation of family relationships, the CPS reports documenting neglect, the threatening behavior toward a witness. Then Rebecca's attorney spoke. She talked about Rebecca's difficult childhood, her struggles with postpartum depression, her remorse. Rebecca cried at the defense table. I felt nothing. David's attorney argued that David had been led astray by bad advice from their accountant, that he was a good father who'd made mistakes. Judge Thomas McKenna listened to everything. Then he spoke. "I've reviewed this case extensively," he said. "What strikes me most is the calculated nature of this fraud. This wasn't a one-time mistake or a misunderstanding of tax law. This was a years-long scheme that exploited family relationships, defrauded the government, and endangered children. The defendant, Rebecca Whitmore, manipulated her own brother, lied to her own mother, and used her children as props in a criminal enterprise. The defendant, David Whitmore, threatened a witness and showed no remorse until facing prison time. He sentenced Rebecca to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release and full restitution of the $68,000 plus penalties. David got 24 months and the same restitution requirements. The child endangerment charges resulted in supervised custody arrangements. My mother retained temporary guardianship, but Rebecca and David would need to complete parenting classes and submit to regular CPS monitoring once they were released. Rebecca turned around as they let her out. She looked at me for the first time since I'd walked into that courtroom. Her face was pure hatred. I looked back and felt nothing but tired. Outside the courthouse, Agent Torres found me. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I keep thinking about Ethan," I said. "About all of them. What this is going to do to them." "You protected them," Torres said. "You made sure their parents couldn't keep using them as cover for criminal activity. You made sure someone was paying attention to whether they were being properly cared for. That's not destruction. That's intervention. Maybe. Or maybe I'd just blown up a family because I couldn't handle being used." I went home to my new apartment, the one where nobody knew my name, and I pulled out my phone. I had one voicemail, from a number I didn't recognize. It was my mother. "Alex." Her voice was thick, tired. "Agent Torres came to see me. He showed me evidence, the recordings, the emails, everything." A long pause. "I owe you an apology that I don't know how to give. I said terrible things. I believed Rebecca when she said you were jealous, that you were unstable. I didn't." Her voice broke. "I'm taking care of the kids. Ethan asks about you every day. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'd like to talk. Really talk." I saved that voicemail too. 3 months later, I was doing better. Freelance work was picking up. I'd started seeing a therapist, Dr. Angela Vance, who specialized in family trauma and betrayal. She helped me understand that protecting yourself isn't the same as destroying others, that boundaries aren't violence, that truth-telling isn't betrayal, even when it feels like it. My mother and I had coffee, then we had dinner. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt something that looked like a relationship. It would never be what it was, but maybe it could be something more honest. She brought the kids to see me on a Sunday in July. Ethan had grown. He was 4 now, taller, his vocabulary exploding. He saw me and his face lit up. "Unca Alex!" He ran to me and I picked him up, and for the first time in months, something in my chest unlocked. "I missed you, buddy." "I missed you too. Mom says you went away, but you're back now." "Yeah," I said. "I'm back now." My mother watched us with tears in her eyes. Later, after the kids were playing in the yard, she told me that Rebecca had written her a letter from prison. An actual apology, not the performative kind. An acknowledgement of what she'd done, the damage she'd caused. "She asked me to tell you she's sorry," my mother said. "I told her she'd have to tell you herself when she's ready, if you ever want to hear it." "I don't know if I do," I said honestly. "That's fair. I still have the recordings. I still have the evidence, stored on an encrypted drive in a safe deposit box. Patricia advised me to keep it, just in case. Just in case Rebecca's apology isn't real. Just in case David decides to retaliate after his release. Just in case the truth needs defending again. But mostly I try not to think about it. I try to focus on the work I'm building, the relationships I'm repairing, the life I'm constructing on foundations that are mine this time, not borrowed or stolen or built on someone else's lies. Ethan calls me every week now. We FaceTime and he shows me his drawings, his toys, his new skills. He's learning to read. Sometimes he still asks when I'm coming to stay, and I tell him soon, when things are better, when everything's settled. Last week he asked me, "Unca Alex, why did you go away?" I thought about all the answers I could give, the legal ones, the true ones, the ones about justice and protection and doing the right thing even when it costs everything. Instead I said, "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, buddy, and sometimes other grown-ups have to help fix them." "Did you fix the mistake?" "I tried to." "Are Mom and Dad coming home soon?" "Yeah," I said. "Pretty soon." He smiled, satisfied with that answer. 4-year-olds still believe the world makes sense, that parents are safe, that family means love. I hope he gets to keep believing that longer than I did. The truth is, I don't know if I did the right thing. Some days I'm sure. Some days I'm certain that exposing fraud and protecting kids and refusing to be complicit was the only moral choice. Other days, I wonder if I could have handled it differently, if there was a way to fix things without burning everything down. But then I remember Rebecca's voice through that baby monitor. "Alex is perfect because he's too stupid to realize what we're doing. And I remember that I didn't burn it down. It was already on fire. I just stopped pretending I couldn't see the smoke. If you enjoyed this, you'll definitely want to see the next ones too. So subscribe now and let me know your take in the comments.